What's up, team, and welcome to Mettle Memo number 20. Today's topics include turning life's curveballs into opportunities for growth, staying flexible and open to new perspectives, meals and macros, training, and the workout of this week. Some new additions. I'm now recording this and putting it on YouTube so you could watch it. In addition, I'm taking the audio and using that as a podcast so you can listen to it on a podcast anywhere you get podcasts. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. Lastly, I launched 2 new programs at the start of this year. We have the 12-week hybrid athlete training program and a 6-week circuit training program with how-to videos in case you don't know how to do any of the exercises. We also have article archive, so anything that I've posted prior, not just the weekly newsletters, but also other posts on Substack, I have a list of them in the newsletter. You could click on any of them and read them. Starting off with lessons learned. Turning life's curveballs into opportunities for growth. Life has a way of catching us off guard. Just when everything seems to be falling into place, an unexpected mishap, a missed deadline, an awkward conversation, a sudden change in plans, or in my recent life, a wildfire can throw us off balance. These moments can feel overwhelming. They just hold incredible potential for growth if we approach them with the right mindset. I want to share how we can embrace these disruptions and turn them into stepping stones for a stronger, more resilient self. I want to caveat this story and the mindset shift below with I was not personally affected in the same way a lot of my friends were, but one person's ability to take this misfortune and turn it into an area for growth demonstrates the power of the mindset shift I'm about to explain. So as I posted last week, I will keep the problem very short. There was a wildfire in Los Angeles, multiple actually, that destroyed thousands of homes and left many families evacuated, having to start over. After numerous phone calls with friends who evacuated, there was one person's story that I could not stop thinking about. It was from my mentor and role model who has a family and his house was in the thick of it. They evacuated to a hotel about an hour away, and when he picked up the phone, he immediately started making jokes. I asked, "How can you be joyful in this situation?" And his response was, "I'm not necessarily joyful, but I do appreciate that I get to spend the next few nights sleeping in one room with the people that matter the most to me." I was lost for words when he said that. He just lost everything, but his attitude toward his tragedy was gratitude toward what he does have. His family, and his family's health. When faced with the unexpected, our first instinct is often frustration or self-blame. Insert the why me thoughts. While those feelings are valid, they don't have to control the narrative. Take a moment to pause and ask yourself, what is this situation teaching me? Maybe it's revealing areas where you could have done better with boundaries, or perhaps it's reminding you of the importance of flexibility. Shifting your perspective from why is this happening to me to what can I learn from this can transform your experience entirely. The mindset shift builds resilience over time. Each time you successfully navigate an obstacle, you reinforce your ability to handle future challenges. The more you practice adjusting to life's unpredictability, the more confident and resourceful you become. Over time, you'll begin to view these mishaps less as threats to your progress and more as opportunities for learning and self-improvement. Although I don't practice this perfectly, my goal at the end of the day is always to focus on your own grass without wondering if it's greener on the other side. Mishaps, roadblocks, and unexpected tragedies often challenge us to adapt. This adaptability is where the real growth begins. When plans don't go as expected, it's an opportunity to reevaluate priorities and adjust. Instead of focusing on what went wrong, think about what and how you can pivot. Whether it's rescheduling a task or shifting your expectations, even small adjustments can lead to powerful outcomes over time. So ask yourself, what truly matters in this moment? Are there alternative ways to achieve your goals? Often, what we see as setbacks are actually redirections that guide us toward a more meaningful path or better solutions. For example, I started writing these newsletters as almost therapy for myself, a documentation of my past 14 days and some lessons I have learned through them. I was nervous to share them. It was personal, and putting my guard down to express how I failed wasn't the top of my list of things to do. The keyboard felt heavy with every letter I typed, and the stories that I would express felt more personal when I started to write them. Once I hit send, it was out there. Then I started to receive emails back. People expressing how they are learning a lot from these newsletters, how they enjoy reading them, and they implement these tips and lessons in their own life. I began to adapt to the feelings of being nervous while writing and sending out the letters. Adapting doesn't always mean making a grand change in your life. Sometimes it's the small, thoughtful adjustments that create the most significant impact over time. Maybe it's reorganizing your day to accommodate an unforeseen event or breaking a large task into smaller, more manageable steps. For me, it was allowing these emotions to flow instead of fighting against it, releasing them onto paper or screen. These micro adjustments allow you to maintain momentum while also reducing stress, making it easier to stay focused and intentional on what truly matters. One time, someone stopped me at a coffee shop to tell me how much they liked the newsletter. All of a sudden, I found my mishaps, my lessons, and my struggles to impact someone else's life in a positive way. I began to reconstruct how I wrote and how I thought. Thoughts like, can this super shitty thing in my life help someone change their perspective? So I continued to write. Now we have over 2,500 people reading and writing back. And I find this struggle created a community of like-minded people, and that is growth. Life's unexpected moments may be uncomfortable, but they are also opportunities to grow. They teach us patience, adaptability, and how to navigate uncertainty with grace. The next time you face an unplanned challenge, remember, it's not the mishap itself, but how you respond to it that defines your path forward. You're capable of turning every setback into a step up. That was lessons learned, and now we'll go into tip of the week. Tip this week, stay flexible and open to new perspectives. Flexibility is one of the most powerful tools for navigating change. It allows you to pivot when necessary, explore creative solutions, and find opportunities even amid disruption. Adapting often begins with a mental shift, a willingness to view the situation from a new angle or try a different approach. This process requires releasing rigid expectations about how things should be and embracing the idea that there are multiple paths to success. This week, I have 5 ways to help with flexibility. Number 1, reframe the situation. When faced with an unexpected change, start by asking yourself, what is this situation offering me that I hadn't considered before? Reframing helps you move from focusing on what's been lost to identifying new possibilities. For example, a canceled event could be an opportunity to rest or to work on something you've been putting off. A change in your career path might open doors to explore a new interest or apply those skills to a different marketplace. A close friend of mine, an ex-colleague, was laid off from my company about a month ago. It was hard to see someone so talented get laid off, but unfortunately, we just didn't need his position at the time. When we were saying our quote goodbyes, I shared that this was merely an opportunity for something greater. However, it will not expose itself right away. Well, I was wrong. Within the past month, he started working with his wife, who was opening up a new business. He told me the skill sets he learned in his real estate career translated over, and he was able to manage tasks that his wife couldn't. As a result, they are now growing the family business or family income together with complementary skills. Reframing shifts your mindset from resistance to curiosity, making it easier to embrace change rather than fight against it. Number 2, explore alternative approaches. Adaptability often involves trying new methods or strategies you haven't used before. If your usual way of doing things isn't working, consider alternatives. So ask yourself, what can I do differently to make this work? Seek inspiration from others who have faced similar challenges or research new techniques that could apply to your situation. Experiment with small changes, observing what works, and adjust as needed. See, I often journal, and while journaling, I can usually see very clearly the problem that has been floating around in my head. Alternatively, I can reach out to 3 specific people in my life, and I also have my wife, for their perspective. Some approaches that are suggested are frankly terrible, at least in my opinion. However, their suggestions sometimes gives me a perspective that I did not notice before. Like they're opening up a door to explore an area I didn't even think about, let alone know existed. That is why I highly suggest asking people not in your field for their opinion. Mere lack of knowledge can actually create ideas for you to implement. Number 3, embrace a growth mindset. Flexibility thrives in a mindset that values growth and learning over perfection. Adopting this perspective means seeing challenges and opportunities to develop new skills or refine existing ones. It's okay to admit that you don't have all the answers right away. What matters is your willingness to learn and to adapt. So ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? How can I grow from this challenge? By focusing on growth, you reduce the fear of failure and increase your capacity to handle future changes. Anytime I start a new fitness hobby, for example, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or BJJ for short, I have fear. Depending on how big my ego is that day, changes how big that fear is. A lot of pride equals a lot of fear, mainly fear of failure. So when I go to BJJ and get my ass kicked, I have two options. I can wallow in my self-pity, let the fear build as my ego is hurt, or I can hike up my skirt and ask myself, how can I grow from this? The more knowledge you have, your confidence in the subject grows. So ask the right questions. Number 4, be willing to revise your plans. Flexibility also involves recognizing when it's time to adjust your plans or expectations. Sometimes clinging to a specific outcome can lead to frustration and ultimately stagnation. So give yourself permission to step back and reassess. Are your goals still realistic given the new circumstances? Can you modify your approach without compromising your overall vision? Remember, revising your plans isn't a sign of weakness. It's a testament to your adaptability and resourcefulness. After writing this, I recognize that there is the quote, right time to revise your plans. It's when you've repeatedly tried something over and over and over and you keep coming to the same result. Then it is time. Not necessarily after you've tried it for a week. For example, I set a goal to reach 5,000 subscribers to the newsletter by December 31st, 2025, the end of this year. When I first started, I was writing shorter newsletters that took about 60 to 90 seconds for pretty much a slow reader to read. Slowly, I would gain 1 or 2 readers, and after 6 newsletters, I wanted to quit. I was so stuck in my head about how the newsletters should be that I wasn't really willing to change. My wife then suggested I write long-form content. I thought that was absurd. No one wants to read long-form content. After realizing these short emails were the same type of content I was receiving from others and frankly ignoring as I have too many emails, I decided to pivot my approach. After pivoting, I gained 1,500 readers in 2 months after that change. As a result, I implemented a much more detailed version and now working on including a video and podcast as you're seeing here. We'll see how this new approach works. Number 5, reflect on your flexibility wins. Finally, take time to reflect on past situations where you've successfully adapted to change. Dear Diary, nice to reread you again. Recognize the strength and creativity you demonstrated in those moments. The reflection can remind you that you've navigated these challenges before and you're fully capable of doing so again. Not necessarily creativity, but I do remember when my ex broke up with me that I felt like the world had ended. I journaled about my pain, but also about my growth. In reflection, I could see these moments that have helped me change, adapt, grow, and become a better version of myself. So I highlight these moments and save them in my front of mind memory and look for how I can adapt these skills to new challenges. Staying flexible and open to new perspectives isn't always easy, but it's a skill that can transform challenges into stepping stones for growth. By practicing curiosity, adjusting your plans, and embracing new approaches, you can turn change into an opportunity to thrive. And that's it for this week's newsletter. In the actual newsletter, on the written format, I include what I'm eating, I include how I'm training, and I actually break down a full workout that I did last weekend, which was a 65-minute full upper body workout. If you're interested, check it out. go to my Instagram or go to my Substack at Colwinarick, COLEWINARICK. And that's it. Fortify your mind. Happy training.